Got it. Well, she did warn you. How you doing today, Mike?
I'm good. How you doing? It's nice to be with you, Sam.
Doing great. She is right. We do this thing before any podcast. It's called the over the top intro. We get a chance to butter your bread a little bit, talk good about you before we jump into more serious things like homegrown. So let us
Mhm.
do our thing. Can we do that for you?
Sounds good.
My next guest is an award-winning artist, journalist, and filmmaker. You may know him from his previous works like Natural Heroes, Water Warriors, and what we are here to talk about today, Homegrown, to be released in North America on the anniversary of the attacks of January 6th on Gather. Michael Premo, welcome to the podcast.
Word up. It's a pleasure to be here, Sam. Thanks for having me.
I gotta talk about this. I only get 12 minutes to talk to you. How did the idea, the concept of homegrown show up? Because it's wild already. It's almost like you had a crystal ball. How did this happen?
Yeah, it's funny you mentioned crystal ball. I mean, we saw what was happening in 2015, 2016, 2017. This like backlash to Obama. There was something happening among conservatives where all these different types of conservatives were aligning in a way that they hadn't before, and we knew something was bubbling. And so we wanted to try to like get to the heart of whatever was going to happen. We had no idea what was about to happen, but that was what sort of sent us down on this path, trying to like meet people who felt like democracy maybe is not working, people who feel like maybe violence is the only option to solve their problems. And so we wanted to like understand who these individuals were and what was motivating them. And that sent us down this path that just crisscrossed across the country for the last 5, 6 years.
Well, Michael, after watching this, you followed three main subjects in this film who are very different and very. How was it to get the okay to just be a part of their day-to-day life? Because I don't, nothing against you, I just met you, but I don't think you are I don't think you would just hang around them at all times. I'm just a judgment call. This is a judgment call. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. That's fair. Yeah, no, why I love documentaries is because it enforces me, invites me to meet people that I would never ever have the opportunity to talk to. And so for people like Thad, who's in the film, Thad was, he's a kind of a deep, thick thinker. He's more meticulous about things. He, went through this vetting process. He watched my previous films. He had to talk with his friends. We had to have a bunch of phone calls before he was like, okay, all right, you can ride with us. Whereas someone like Chris, he's, as you see him in the film, he's a little bit more sort of off the cuff and flying by the seat of his pants. And we were like, hey, we're doing this thing. Is this something you want to be part of? And he's like, yeah, sure, come. I'm doing this, I'm doing that. Just come, just come. And then our kind of relationship developed from there.
Well, Michael, there's no easy way to say this, so I'm just gonna say it like this. After watching Homegrown, I'm walking this line so I don't ruin anything. I know it's been out, but it's weird that I say I'm ruining something that we kind of saw unfold in front of us. But just bear with me.
Mhm.
My next question is like this. There are different factors in Homegrown to make people more radicalized, and race had a small part in front of the camera. Did I have a part in behind the camera? Cause you was in some places where I've been black for a while. We not exactly the demographic, if that
Mhm.
makes sense.
Yeah, 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 yeah. Of course, of course. I mean, as a person of color, I found myself in places where I never thought that I would ever go and interact with people, and I was invited in a way that was surprising to me. I wasn't expecting to be in these conservative spaces and find other people who look like me. It was wild. And that really kind of, I think, is one of the takeaways we want to share with people because I don't think people think about the conservative movement being as multicultural as it is.
No, it was very multicultural, but there's a level. Yeah, I'm wording my question very. There's a level of caution that you have in you, built in at all times, and you were in some places, very risky places, very violent areas. Like who am I kidding? The trailer for the film is Chris showing you his gun collection. That's in the trailer. So there are some things where and when we talk about January 6th, how violent it got and how there's a certain level of a camaraderie in hate, but not hate, but it how did you navigate those waters where it was just like, is this civil disruption or is this general violence? Either
Yeah,
way, you can't go wrong.
you can't go wrong. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I mean, it was like I was like driven by just this like desire to like just understand why people are making these decisions. And after a while, people get comfortable with our presence there. So they let down their guard and just kind of show us who they really are. And, I was surprised that, there was a degree of people that are motivated by race in the conservative movement. And I was totally shocked to find people that aren't fully motivated by race. And I wasn't totally expecting that. And like, I met all these sort of Afro-Latino individuals who would sort of like, when they were just kind of it was by ourselves filming in a hotel room, everyone speaking Spanish. And then, one of their sort of white friends comes in and suddenly we're in English again. And like, I was like,
Mm.
it's like this everywhere, like those little things that like I was surprising me about this movement.
One thing about this movie that made all right, Thad is a interesting character
Hmm.
because without spoiling too much, he gets his clarity in one fell swoop without ruining anything. But one thing about Chris that made me stand that just I love Chris to this point. You see him slowly having these moments where it's just like maybe or you have the second thoughts, or maybe I shouldn't be doing this, or I should be focused on bigger things, or I should be. What was it about having both subjects? Not to take away from Reggie. We'll get on him in a minute. But two very polar people in what's happening with Homegrown. Because with Chris, you can almost pinpoint your watch. You're seeing them become radicalized. Meanwhile, a guy like Thad, this was in him the whole time.
Right. Yeah, so I mean that's a great question because what you hit upon is like one of the hardest series of decisions we had to make about this film. Since, as I was saying, we were filming it since 2018, and in that process, we filmed about a dozen people around the country over time, and had to, not until we got into the edit did we have to make those really hard choices around who would be in the film. And why Chris is in the film is because Chris represented this type of person who we met a lot of, and that was somebody who self-identified as not being political before 2015, 2016. For them, it wasn't until Trump rode down that elevator and said what he said that they feel like finally somebody was speaking to them, and finally there was just something to be excited about national politics about. And that to me was fascinating. Especially not just for what Trump said, but and represents, but like the fact that he's been in the news for my whole life. And
Right.
I'm from New York, and Chris is from the same area. He has also seen Trump in the tabloids all growing up as well. So it was interesting that he would, be moved like that. And then Thad represented, as a Latino man, as a brown man from South Texas, represented this type of person that I met across the movement as well, as somebody who was a person of color rolling around with this movement, and also one of those deep thinkers who's like always trying to figure things out. And like you said, he was kind of like he was there, he was kind of baked, and he was kind of like ready to ride. And like we met a lot of people that were very similar to Thad, and Thad self-identifies as a conspiracy theorist. And so that's why those two individuals had to be in the film, because we felt like not only did they do present interesting perspectives by themselves, they also represented what we feel like is a whole segment of people that aren't necessarily talked about in this way to like understand what's driving them.
One thing I love about asking about the editing process with any director is because this is so much that you can only put in about an hour and a half. What was left on the cutting room floor? Some you could have expounded upon a little bit more that you wish it should have been in the final cut.
Oh man, that's a great question. There's so much on the floor. One thing that was on the floor was we had this woman who we followed, who was this I won't talk too much about her, but there was this woman who was really fascinating, and we just like couldn't make her work with the three other characters because she was always what made the film work from an editing perspective is that there's three participants in the film were all kind of at the same events and they were all kind of building together. And this other woman who we followed was really fascinating, really interesting, but she wasn't directly connected to the other three. And so, we tried to make her work in the film, but it just didn't work. And I really wanted to have a woman in the film.
All right. And this is the last one because this is kind of like the most important question. What do you want any viewer to take away from this film?
Oh, that's a great question. One of the big things we want to take away is that like I think one of the things that makes this partisan, this divide, whatever you want to call it that we're in, so bad is it's all about ideas and it's all about policies and these big ideological things that I don't think a lot of the average everyday J and Q public types think about. And it's not ideology that's driving people into this movement, but it's people looking for belonging, people looking for purpose. People want friends, they want meaning, and they want to like feel stable in a world that doesn't make any sense when you have, corporations and billionaires not getting taxed, having outsized influence on politics, and me, I can barely afford eggs, I can barely afford bacon,
Right.
it's I don't know where my next like paycheck is coming from. Like something's out of whack. And people are just trying to make sense of that. How they get there, I mean, like maybe that might seem crazy to you, but like we're motivated by very similar things. And that's what I hope people take away from that film is being able to sit with people that they might not always talk to, or they might have not have opportunity to ever be in touch with. But like I did that for you. Rachel Falcone, my producing partner, and I, we talk to these folks so that you don't have to. And hopefully that helps people understand their world a little bit more.
Well, Michael, I didn't have a long time, but I did have a good time. I thank you. Homegrown is coming up. Well, they're redoing it on Gather. It's going to be January 6th. I thank you so much. You're always welcome back to the podcast. We could chop it up on anything else, whatever the next endeavor is. You got a home here, man.
Bam, I love your energy. I really appreciate you. Folks can check out the film at homegrown.film, and I hope to be coming back and talk to you about the next one.
All right, thank you so much, Michael.